Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound. Enter your participant ID followed by pound. Otherwise, just You are in the meeting now. There are 9 participants in the meeting. This meeting is being recorded.
So I'll do the roll call. Is Commissioner Guster?
Here.
Commissioner Swanberg?
Here.
Commissioner Carp?
Here.
Commissioner Boyd?
Here.
And Commissioner Batimana is here. Commissioner, what's his last name?
Pecora.
Commissioner Pecora and Commissioner Transu, currently not with us. Not sure if they're joining after. But we have 5 out of 7, so we are good to go. Okay. So we'll move on to approval of agenda. I believe we have 3 to approve. Oh, no, approval of agenda first. If everybody, were able to review and make a motion. Thank you.
Second.
Second, thank you. And for the minutes, we have 3 to approve. We'll start with the February 9th regular meeting minutes, which will be on the board here soon. Okay.
Why did we table these last time? I don't remember.
I don't remember.
There was a correction.
What was the correction? What was incorrect?
Now we're asking for the senile person to,
I think it's something in the attorney's fees, I believe. That's just my memory.
I would suggest, I wish Jeff were here because, he'll hear it on the recording. I would suggest that in the future, when we reject, when we table a set of minutes because of a correction, that the minutes of the meeting in which those other minutes were tabled also say the reason for tabling. So, once time passes and you forget.
yes, that should be in the minutes.
All right, so I believe the changes were made here. Commissioner Pecora is just joining.
Coming on, so.
Oh, both of them. So, can we get a motion for the February 9th regular meeting minutes?
I move.
Before we move or anything, I just want to make sure that whatever the correction that we made is cited and that we know precisely what that correction is.
Is it maybe in the March 9th minutes?
I'm looking
Right.
at my notes. It was the description of new business and clearing up the language for the description of the case.
Because, I looked at the March, when I reviewed the March 9th minutes, it just said that,
You did.
that the February 9th minutes were tabled.
Yeah, I don't think it said
It
why.
didn't say why they were tabled or, and what needed to be done. So Jeff, you weren't here.
Jeff is here.
Jeff's here.
Okay.
You
I
weren't
had
here
to-
when I suggested this earlier, but from now on, when we table minutes, in the minutes, and when we're recording that minutes from another meeting were tabled, we should say why they were tabled. What was the problem? So that we can, because we can't remember. Most of us anyway.
Yeah, I'm not sure myself. I can look back at the notes, but I'm sure I would have put it in there if I had it down, but, sorry, I'm on my phone because our internet at home wasn't working last time, so I went to the church and I can't get on here either.
Oh, sorry.
So I'm on my
Well,
phone.
Jeff, we are recording this meeting.
Mhm.
We are.
The office will send you the Zoom recording so that you can have the recording to work with for your minutes.
Okay.
So do we want to table this again until we figure out what corrections were made?
Well, Latrice says she knows what corrections were made. Well, Latrice said it was in the description of the case in new business.
Business.
Which case in new business was it?
It was an error in I think it was the B.
And is it corrected?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then, let's put these minutes in the bag.
All right. So do we have a motion?
I'll move that we accept the corrected minutes.
I second.
Everybody in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Okay, none. We'll move forward to, oh, look at me, I'm trying to scroll.
You gotta go.
The next minutes for March 17th special meeting.
No, actually,
We
wasn't,
need March 9th.
the March 9th was a special meeting.
I don't think the March 9th minutes were in the packet.
It's not
I don't
here.
think so. I think Beth didn't have them. She couldn't find them. And she got them after the packet was posted.
Okay,
I
so
know.
what's on the board, what's on the screen is not the special meeting minutes.
Okay, so then I guess we have to table the March 9th minutes. So it's in though I did get it in an email.
Yeah, I sent them again to her yesterday, because she doesn't always get email. She said there's a problem there, but I sent the 9th to her again, but it was probably too late for her to post them.
Yeah, I think it's something with the emails when we get attachments. Because that was the same thing, the same issue that Rabbi Karp and I were having. He was sending me a document and I kept asking him for it, and he's like, I sent this to you repeatedly. Yeah. So it's something with the attachments, I think, that it gets hung up.
That's happened before, yeah. So we're tabled the March 9th and the March 17th, because it says special meeting minutes March 17th. So if this is not the special meeting minutes.
That was when the special meeting was.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It says right there, minutes of special meeting,
Yeah.
Wednesday, March 17th.
Yeah, that was
So March 9th is the regular meeting.
right.
That's what we're missing.
Right.
Okay.
I'm noticing my name is spelled wrong on the March 17th meeting.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that, Elfeline?
It should be ETHELENE.
Yeah, I'll bet it did spell correct or something.
What happens when you get a new haircut? You become a comedian.
Any other corrections?
I had a question about them. Was there a vote taken in open session?
No.
Yeah, we did.
No, it
We
was
came-
taken in closed, the vote was taken in, oh, yeah, we did take a vote.
We did it in open session, yeah.
Yes, we did it. We voted in closed session, and we repeated the vote in open session. You're absolutely right.
As it says there, we reconvened in open at 10:37 and then took the vote, I think.
Yeah, it just never said that there was a vote to come out of closed session. So I was.
Oh, gotcha. So do we have to?
You see, yeah, but these aren't the minutes of the closed session. In fact, I was looking for the minutes of the closed session. I could not.
The closed session minutes are sealed.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's where the vote would have been taken to come out of closed session.
Yeah, it
The closed
was.
session would be
Okay.
in those minutes.
So we don't have to show that here? Just the vote to come out of the closed session?
It should just be that we came back to open session.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay.
And my name is spelled wrong a different way the second time.
That's gotta be my computer, because I know how to spell your name. Gosh.
Okay. So I guess pending the corrections of Commissioner Boyd's name, shall we move to approve this?
I so move subject to corrections of these minutes that they be approved.
I second the motion.
All right. Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Anybody opposed? Okay. So the minutes for, the special meeting minutes for March 17th approved. And then we have to table the March 9th regular meeting minutes. Right? Okay. And then we can move on to, let me see. We can move on to.
Got to go back to the agenda.
Yes. Here, I have it up. Okay. And so we move on to the director's report.
I'm so used to having the bookmarks to just jump to that section. So, well, working with some of the other directors from the other commissions to develop an equity group to provide trainings or maybe some kind of symposium for local government. So we've been kind of talking through and planning action items that we can do with that and see what members of local government we can kind of invite and see, kind of feel out their interest on attending a training of that nature. So we don't see a lot of trainings offered to government entities regarding equity and inclusion and diversity. So we were thinking that might be a neat thing to offer kind of statewide, just have like a symposium type of thing and do it online because it's COVID. So thinking about that. And we had a meeting on that. had a meeting with a community member regarding the walking tour signage. This person contacted us initially, I think in 2016. They felt that the signage regarding wow, I'm spacing on what it's called. The large pool that used to be at the base of Main Street.
On the Lendahan?
No, well, I don't know if that was another name for it, but that's not what we've been calling it. I'm totally spacing on the name of it. But there was a large pool. I know colloquially it was called like the socialist pool. Like it was council built this giant pool down there. But we have a sign on the walking tour that says that it was segregated. And the community member does not believe that it was segregated. So we initially had conversations about that back in 2016 and kind of had the same conversation again this last month, that if we can find some information that shows that the sign is incorrect, then we would be open to updating it, but we haven't found that information. And back in 2016, 2017, our office and the library worked together to do a ton of research to see if we could find anything to, it was an auditorium. Somebody in the comments just said it was. Thank you. Yeah, so we did a lot of research to see if we can find any information to corroborate that, and we couldn't, other than this person's perception of it not being segregated. So that was the thing.
When was it desegregated?
I believe, according to the marker, sometime in the 50s or 60s.
Well, we should be able to find.
Or integrated is what it
of
was.
the Quad City Times. I would imagine that the desegregation of this pool in downtown Davenport would have evoked, or the issue of whether or not it was, whether or not it should be desegregated, would evoke an article from the paper.
Yeah, we would think that. We couldn't find anything, and I think eventually there were minutes from the Parks Board that were uncovered that said, yeah, they're no longer going to, the parks pools are no longer going to be segregated, but there's nothing that shows that in practice that actually happened. So it looks like it could have been one of those things that, though it's illegal, people still do it, or there's a way around it. So after the date that's on those minutes, there are no photos of it being integrated. So it could be that the minutes are reflecting that it was desegregated to allow people to swim there once a week, which is what the sign says, that Black people were allowed to swim there on Sundays, I think, or Saturdays. So it went from Black people not being allowed to swim there at all to them being able to swim there once a week. And the community member is alleging that they were allowed to swim there whenever they wanted to. And we did extensive research and couldn't find any proof of that.
Hey, Director Lace, I know that through some research that we've done through the Friends of MLK Interpretive Center, that we found the same information that you are speaking to. I found nothing to indicate that it was not that it was not desegregated at that particular time, and that it was a particular day that Blacks had an opportunity to go and swim. So
okay,
that person, if he or she has sufficient data to substantiate their claim, ought to submit it. But I can tell you, everybody that I have talked to that has knowledge of that time frame will substantiate what you have said, that it was one day.
Yeah,
in a whole second, I just pulled up an article from Bill Wondrum,
Mm-hmm.
October 9th, 2016. And
Yeah,
says
that was in
truth
response to her inquiry.
Okay. Urban myth makes the claim that for years African Americans were permitted to swim at the net only one day a week. Then the 5,000.
Hey, Rabbi Kopp, let's don't spend a lot of time on this here because it's not fair. And I can tell you that I know for a fact that we have done some extensive research in that area, and it's just it was segregated. It wasn't a one day.
Okay. Then let's move on.
Okay.
We're working with community groups to see about having some summer events. We usually do summer events in the parks with the neighborhoods, just kind of have people come out to meet us, have kind of bounce houses and give out information. And then the final event, we have the school supply giveaway. Obviously, we didn't do that this past summer because of COVID, but we are, as we're kind of getting people vaccinated and getting back to some semblance of normalcy and being able to interact with one another, we were thinking about having some summer events. What we're thinking about initially is kind of doing maybe like a drive-in or a movie in the park kind of thing where people can still social distance and have some separation between them, but to film movies, really civil rights related movies, and perhaps have ongoing discussions about the movies and kind of make it an initiative where we are talking about things of particular importance. The initial thing that we were thinking about was the recommendations on policing reforms and having discussions on movies where we are kind of reviewing some of the documentaries where people talk about police interactions and that kind of thing. So that's kind of preliminarily where we are, and we're in the beginning stages of conversation about that. We having a few events for Fair Housing Month. We're gonna redo the redlining event, have another discussion about that. And then we are also gonna do a training regarding racial trauma in the justice system. So we're just waiting for the presenter to kind of finalize their outline of the project so that we can submit it for CLE credit. But we want to target lawyers and judges for that training, just so that they can kind of review maybe how they are, how biases can impact how things are perceived from people who may come from different walks of life and what they do. I think if we look at a lot of our judges, and sorry, I'm getting some feedback from something here. Make sure you guys hear that. Jeff, are you signed in on 2 accounts?
I think I might be.
I'm assuming you.
Let's see.
Okay, let's try it now. There we go. Just kind of looking at the demographics of lawyers and judges. They may not come from the same demographics as the people who they are representing or people who come before them. And so kind of having the discussion about trauma and how diversity, diverse backgrounds kind of impact how people may present, and kind of having a better understanding of how people bring their own like stuff to the table and instead of having that kind of neutral and unbiased interaction with folks. Old business. So the litigation updates, one of the cases that's before the commission today relates to a hearing that was scheduled. There was a case where the respondent entered into a conciliation agreement with the complainant, and it was approved by the commission, by me, on behalf of the commission. And the respondent failed to comply with the terms of the conciliation agreement. And when we went to review it to determine next steps for compliance, it was realized that the respondent was stating that they had already given the complainant some sort of relief as a condition of a separate agreement. So the complainant did not have any relief as a result of this agreement. So that voids the agreement, because in order to form a valid contract, you have to give someone something and they have to get something in exchange. So if the complainant was not getting anything in exchange, then it wouldn't form a valid contract. And so we rescinded our approval of that agreement, and the respondent was notified of that. And then it went to the commission to take to public hearing because the respondent failed to provide that relief that was agreed upon in the agreement. The hearing officer issued a dismissal order, and that's what the commission has before it today to decide whether or not to finalize that. But that's kind of where the oddity comes from with that. I think that it's kind of a unique situation with that, in that we are not a party to the agreement. We signed the agreement in an approving capacity, not as a party to it. And if the parties were allowed to do what has been done in that situation, it would basically incentivize respondents to sign agreements with no intention of complying with them. So not even just looking at the specific facts of that case with the kind of not having a valid agreement, but just 30,000 foot looking at that type of situation. If respondents were able to sign agreements with the complainant and then not comply with them, and then the only recourse the complainant would have would be to take it into district court to enforce the agreement, that would basically incentivize respondents in signing agreements, because you basically created a limit of what the complainant can get. Whereas the ordinance says that the complaint can be reopened. And that's the same way under the Iowa Civil Rights Act and the Fair Housing Act and EEOC. They all have the kind of the same provisions. If there's an agreement and it's not complied with, or the person doesn't get the relief that they were supposed to get, then they can file to have it reopened. Other litigation updates. I did receive a letter from Mr. Malloy stating that if he does not get paid, he's going to file an action for non-payment. Ruby, I don't know, have you met with anyone about his billing statement and the non-payment?
No. Who would you suggest to meet with, regarding that?
So a couple of months ago, you said that you were going to meet with the finance director about that?
About that?
Yeah, about that issue. We discussed it, I think, at either the January or the February meeting. But I hadn't gotten any follow-up from it, so I wasn't sure if you had already met with.
Well, I'll do that if it's the finance. No, I haven't done it. Fell off my radar.
Okay. And then the FOIA issue, so I got an update from Brian that this was a FOIA that I responded to, and then the legal department went back and went into my email and then posted those online. So it makes even less sense. The person's inquiry was regarding the process that the commission went through to solicit input from members of the community, and the emails that were released relate to kind of any discussion that was had about the policing report. In addition to that, just being really inappropriate because they don't, the city's legal department doesn't conduct FOIAs for our office, and it gives them access to things that could be privileged and confidential, both under our contracts and under the law. It also goes well beyond what, the person even asked for. And I'd already responded to the FOIA. And I think, Janelle, you worked on it as well. It was that request that we responded to regarding the process that we went through. So I didn't get a reply back when I asked why they had done that. And I did talk to the library director, and she said that they do have their own server, so they're not on the city server. They have a separate server, and they actually have funding to have their own IT person who works with their server. We are still working on those equity kind of ACES reports. We have gotten some information back that we were compiling, so we got that back last week. So we're kind of trying to finalize those, and we did kind of weave some of that equity information into the annual report with the policing information. I am still waiting to get photos from several folks, so if you could send over your photos for the annual report and statements, why you want to serve on the commission or what you hope to see for the upcoming year. And then, for litigation updates, I forgot about the ALJ. So I did look up the duties for the ALJ and kind of what the job description would usually have. And I found a couple of federal ALJ job descriptions, and they really kind of requested 10 years of experience working in the area, kind of the area that department works in. So they have their own dedicated ALJ for the different agencies. And so they were requesting 10 years of experience working in that area, kind of knowledge of hearing practice, and that was generally what. It's a really long list, but I'm boiling it down to a really kind of a 30,000-foot view of what it was. But I can send the specifics of what it says out to everybody, but that's kind of what it was. They wanted that knowledge of that practice area, and then kind of knowledge of how to conduct hearings or how to, engage in litigation. Partnerships. I think I already talked about the upcoming community partnerships. And then there is an ADA symposium coming up. It's Monday, July 26th through Wednesday, July 28th. Would anyone be interested in attending that?
July.
And where is that?
That one is virtual, but they do have an in-person one. The dates are different though for the in-person one.
26th is Monday, 28th is Wednesday.
Oh, sorry, no, I have the wrong dates. July 26th through the 28th is the in-person one. That's in Phoenix, Arizona. The virtual one is August 2nd through August 5th.
Okay. And say the name of that again.
The ADA.
Would this be like a whole day thing, you think?
Yeah.
So 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 days.
For the online one?
Yeah.
Yeah, looks like it.
Help me
if it's on virtual, do you have to pay?
Yeah, it's $500.
Ooh, stiff for online. I don't know how everybody's schedule is, so I don't know. I was going to suggest if we can all tag team, attend maybe a couple here and there instead of blocking everybody's schedule. It's kind of tough if, you're working, so.
It's a weekly symposium, so if we're paying for it with public funds, you would need to commit to actually attending, unless you're going to pay for it out of pocket.
And again, tell me what were we? I'm not understanding the nature of the.
It's a training, so it goes over different aspects of disability law.
Okay.
Under the ADA. And
okay.
I guess if everybody wants to think about it, you can think about it and then get back to me.
No, I'll be a part of it.
You want to attend it?
Yes.
Or would you want to attend in person or virtual? I guess you can we'll follow up offline.
Okay.
Is there like a flyer about it, some sort of brochure about it, what the workshops are going to be and what have you?
Yeah.
So
here, let me share it in the, I can share it in the
Could you send
comments.
that? Can you send that out?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably be better email.
Yeah, be better email.
I think that's all I have.
Okay.
Latrice, if I could ask you, I noticed at number 15, you talk about the COVID-19 rates and the impact on office functions. Do you have any thoughts about when the office might open, or are people there more than they were, or what's this current status?
I think we're still where we were. The rates are continuing to go up in our area, and now I think with the vaccinations, more people are becoming more emboldened to not wear masks, and we're kind of in a position where by the time we realize someone is not masked, they are already inside of the office, and I don't think that it would be a safe or appropriate thing to have staff having to debate with someone about whether or not they're going to wear a mask. So we're kind of there with that issue. And then we're learning that the Pfizer vaccination is, there's a South African variant that is penetrable to the Pfizer vaccination. And that is here in Iowa and in Illinois. So we're still kind of monitoring it to see where that goes.
I thought it was penetrable to the Moderna vaccination and not the.
No, it's the Pfizer one.
Well, going back to the mask wearing thing. So if they go to the civil rights office, they have to go through the front desk. And the city hall is a government office, and so they're required to wear masks. And I would think if they walk through the two glass doors and people would see them not wearing masks, somebody would have said something before they even get to the civil rights office.
Well, people are there all the time without masks, so I guess not. And I don't think that that's an appropriate thing to have staff arguing about or debating about, because it's still not safe.
Well, the
Thanks, Latrice.
City Hall, I thought requires masks. Is that not correct?
Allegedly.
Well, if they require masks, don't they take on the responsibility of policing to make sure that no one enters City Hall without a mask? That there should be someone who greets them, and that there is a supply of masks for those who don't have masks, like is done in so many other places.
Because when I go to the city hall, I usually stop the front desk anyways, but I see everybody wearing masks.
So are we discussing whether we'll change our policy or something?
Well, we're discussing whether or not it's safe and what's necessary for it to be safe to reopen the office and to eventually hold in-person meetings.
And I think we're a ways from that, I think is what we're
Yeah,
saying.
I think it's going to take a while for the in-person meetings.
The office isn't closed. We just are closed to the public, so we're still working behind the scenes. So if somebody has a reason that they need to meet in person, somebody needs an accommodation or something, we can do that. Or if people need to pick things up, they can stop in to pick something up, or drop something off. But we are definitely limiting interactions with the public because you don't know who has COVID. A lot of people don't know that they're walking around with it. And I think that people think receiving the vaccination kind of creates a level of immunity that it doesn't. And several people have been vaccinated and then they ended up with COVID. And the Midwest as a whole is entering into a fourth wave right now. But definitely our area, we see that all of our local emergency rooms were full. And we are seeing a huge spike here locally. So I don't think we're in a position to risk that for no reason.
Okay. So do we have a motion to approve the director's report? If there's any more questions, sorry.
I so move.
I second the motion.
Okay. Everybody in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Okay, so our director's report is approved. Next on agenda, new business.
Are we going to talk about the statistics for the month too?
Oh,
Latrice, did you want to address those or?
Oh, I don't think we had any cases that closed in mediation or conciliation, and there were no right to sue letters issued.
I just had a question, Latrice, and maybe you can clarify for me. I noticed that one of the, on the basis filed monthly, one of the categories was retaliation. And I'm assuming that would usually be along with some other, some other protected class discrimination.
No.
So what would retaliation be?
that there has been an action taken as a result of complaining about discrimination or engaging in protected activity. So opposing discrimination, complaining about it, assisting someone else in complaining about it.
But then we don't know what the discrimination was, just what the retaliation was. I mean, I guess I'm splitting hairs here. I didn't.
Those are two different bases. So you can file a complaint for the underlying discrimination, and then if you're retaliated against later, that's not an amendment to the initial complaint. That's a separate complaint. Or you could file about discrimination in the office or, you know, in your workplace or housing or wherever, and file it internally, and then you're retaliated against, and you can file just on the basis of retaliation.
Okay, thank you.
So if you want me to send you over some guidance on that, I can.
No, that's okay. I just, it seems like it's kind of a catch-all. It takes in all the categories of discrimination, and it's just retaliation on any of those bases.
No, retaliation is a separate basis.
I understand, but it has to be on the basis of unlawful discrimination. That's all I'm trying to understand. And I think I do. So thanks.
Okay. And the underlying discrimination doesn't have to be proven. So you could have mistakenly thought that you were being discriminated against and still have a valid retaliation claim.
Thanks.
No problem.
And then we move on to the two cases on the new business.
So the first one is an employment case alleging age and race discrimination. I would recommend that we not take that one to hearing. That case involved an employee who worked for an agency, and it was, or no, I'm sorry, this one is, I think, age and sex. It involved an employee who worked in an office space, and his job was restructured along with several other people. The other people whose jobs were restructured were all women. And after the restructuring, everyone was able to retain their job except for him. And the reason given for his termination was that he had also taken an action that the respondent believed was in excess of his authority to do. I don't know how to describe that without kind of conveying what he did, which might convey where he worked. Yeah, there was a customer who needed help, and the respondent alleges that he helped the customer personally instead of, or because he felt bad because the respondent couldn't help the customer. And so they said that that was an inappropriate action. And he was ultimately terminated for that. The investigation couldn't find any evidence that he had actually done that. He had actually helped the person.
So, let me see, I'm trying to process this. So, this complaint was leveled because this person was claiming gender discrimination?
Yes.
And the respondent said that it was had nothing to do with his gender, but it had to do with an action that could not be verified?
Yes.
So therefore, it was gender discrimination. Or,
We found that there was, that their explanation was pretext for gender discrimination.
and we're not taking. You were recommending we not take it to hearing because.
We don't have resources to take any more hearings. We have several pending hearings, and we just don't have the resources to take it.
And we, if we're not gonna, take this to public hearing because of resources, can we have that noted in the minutes? Please, so we can keep track of things that we can't handle because we're out of resources. So do we vote now or I don't know, any other questions, clarifications regarding the case?
Just, does the complainant have another recourse? Does the complainant take it to his court?
Yeah, it's an employment case, so it's cross-filed with the Iowa Civil Rights Commission and the EEOC. So prior to closing, the EEOC does review those, and they attempt to resolve the case through their conciliation process as well. I do know that respondent is a recipient of federal funding, and EEOC has greater enforcement capabilities for entities receiving federal funding, and so they might be a bit more inclined to resolve it through EEOC as well.
Okay.
Any other discussion on that?
I'll make a comment because no, I'm not going to make it because it's not going to be nice. So you guys better go ahead and continue. I am going to make it. Madam Chair, you make a note of this here case, and we had plenty of these cases last year that we wanted to take or couldn't take because of funding. And, it bothers me somewhat that things like this particular case here, we fail to even realize and utilize to justify additional funding for this year's budget. And that really bothers me. And we horsed around with some things. And today I hear, let's make a note of it. Well, we had a lot of notes on last year cases, and we did nothing. And so I hope that we don't have a repeat when we go in and we ask for funds on this next time around, and we don't mess around and miss the opportunity to weigh in very heavily for additional funds. That's all I have.
Okay. I don't think that we kept track of those last year too.
Madam Chair, we had a whole list of them. And I could argue the fact, but I'm not going to do that. We had a whole list of them from the very beginning. As I became a commissioner, there was a whole list.
Michael, I think though the difference is that now what Ruby has asked is that be noted in the minutes, that we keep a written record. We went through that list. You're right, and that's what upset us so much, was that there were so many cases that we couldn't take because of funding restrictions. But we didn't record each.
Rabbi Carr, I really thank you for the comments and stuff, but guys, I don't want to waste a lot of time here and stuff, and I don't need explanations in terms of what we did and did not do, but I just want you guys to know that there was enough information available last year on cases that we did not take to do the same thing that we are doing now. And I don't need cover or anything. It's because it's not Madam Chair's fault. It's the commissioner's fault that we didn't move forward and do what we're supposed to do. So I'm not leveling anything at Ruby. I'm leveling it, this your complaint, as us as a commission, as opposed to anything else. And I want to make sure that we don't repeat what we did last year. So that's my point, Rabbi Kopp, and I take your point. It's very well made, and so I want my point to be made as well. Thank you.
So do you recommend that we not take the recommendations of the chair?
No, I'm not talking about, I'm just talking about capturing information for budgetary formulation as we come up to for a reevaluation for additional funds in order to be able to take the case. Because and I'm not arguing whether we take it or not take it. I'm going to always probably, unless there is something that's really that stands out with me, I'm going to take the recommendation of the director. But I'm just talking about we taking a case here and we annotating that we couldn't take a case because of funding. So that's all, guys.
So let's take a vote of taking it to public hearing.
I move we not take this case to public hearing.
Okay. Second?
I will second that.
Okay. And everybody in favor of not taking this case to public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Anybody opposed? Okay. So this case, new business letter A, will not be taken to public hearing. And then we can move on to the next one.
The next one is the case that you all received the recommended or proposed decision from the hearing officer for dismissal. So the commission has 30 days to review that decision or it will become final. So this would be a time to schedule a meeting to review that decision. Or if everyone has reviewed it and wants to let it become final, I guess that's a thing too. But well, actually, no. There's a proposed decision, so there's supposed to be an option for the parties to come before the commission to argue it. So then it has to be done within 30 days.
Sorry. When did the 30 days start counting?
On the day that you received it. It was issued, I think, April 5th. Yeah.
So before May 5th. I don't know if everybody can look at their calendars. Mine's like almost full.
So we need to set up a meeting to review.
Yeah.
We have to review it and then we meet.
And we should give the parties 15 days from today's date.
Okay.
I guess I have a problem with timing. Now, yes, we received this on April 5th, yeah, in the mail. Today's the 13th, that's 8 days later. We have 30 days to do this, and we have to give the parties 15 days. So that doesn't, so that means that the 28th would be the earliest that we could do it, which gives us only a few days in which we can actually hold this hearing. Is there a way that we can time the receipt of this information with the start of the 30 days with right before our monthly meeting? Because otherwise, we're going to have to be calling special meetings all the time to give us enough time to notify the parties and the hearing within the 30-day period.
Well, this is coming from the hearing officer, so she sent it out to the parties, and we sent it out to the commission on the same day. So they kind of issue it whenever they complete it.
Right.
And I guess we could ask them to delay issuing it until it's around the commission meeting.
Yeah, I mean, because we're meeting on the 13th. That means takes us to 28th. 28th is a Wednesday. 30. So we have the 28th, 29th, 30th. That's 3 days, and the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. At 6 days, we have left to actually hold the hearing. And so, I mean, if we can find a time within those 6 days, okay, but that doesn't give us a lot of latitude. And we know from past experiences how much trouble we've had getting a quorum for a closed hearing.
Is it possible to ask for an extension?
No, the ordinance says 30 days. So
okay,
we would have to do it in accordance to what the law says.
And is there a requirement that the parties have 15 days from the notice to file anything?
Yes.
And then isn't there a requirement that the commission has 15 days after those submissions to review the case and hold their hearing?
Yes.
So ordinarily, though, the notice to the parties would need to go out like the same day that the administrative law judge's decision comes down, right?
Yes, and it did.
Okay.
They have it. They just don't have the date with the notice of the day that the commission is going to review it. So we couldn't schedule that without the commission.
Okay, so when are the submissions by the parties due?
They would be due within 15 days.
To the 20th, approximately?
No.
15 days from the 5th.
No, it would be 15 days from the date that they receive notice of the hearing. Let me make sure of that, but I believe it's 15 days from the date that they receive notice of the hearing.
Because I thought it was 15 days from the date of the administrative law judge's decision and a notice as to when their due date was for their submissions, which I think would have to be kind of right away. I mean, if you've got 15 days for the parties to submit something and then 15 days for the commission to review those before our hearing, that notice has to go out immediately and you just set 15 days and then 15 days after that, it seems, as I recall.
Was it said that the 28th is the earliest? So are we looking at days
She's checking the timing.
Yeah, so they have to have it to the commission no later than 15 days prior to the commission meeting at which the decision will be reviewed. The party shall be afforded no less than 15 calendar days between the date of the hearing officer's recommended decision is mailed to the parties and the date the exceptions and brief and support. So I guess they received it on the 5th. So
Okay.
as long as they get it in 15 days prior to the meeting, then that is sufficient timing.
Okay. So
what window of time does that create for us? I mean, so
if they received it on the 5th, 15 days from that would be, make sure I get the right date.
the
on
20th.
the 20th. But then we have to set a date.
Right.
So we have to give them 15 days. So since we're only now
We
setting
have to give them additional
on the
15.
13th, we have to give them to the 28th.
If they already received it on the 5th, 15 days would be the 20th. We have to give them another 15 days. So we can schedule it after the 20th then. We can schedule the hearing.
I think we would want to aim for between the 28th and the 5th, because when they get it, they should have a hearing date. So usually what we would do is, if we receive a hearing officer's decision before the commission meeting, we would send them something notifying them that it would be decided at the commission meeting. But because of the timing of this one, 30 days for the next commission meeting would be too far for the May meeting, and for the April meeting, it would be too soon. So what they have is just they received the proposed decision, but we don't have a date yet because the commission needed to decide that, because it wouldn't be able to be reviewed at any of the standing meetings. So there needs to be a special meeting.
So let me suggest that we do this on the 29th, just to make sure that the 28th isn't the questionable day of whether it's part of the 15 or not.
The 29th is on a Thursday.
On a Thursday.
Right. And open after 11. I don't know how everybody's schedule looks like.
Maybe we need to kind of like do a roll call to see each individual.
Okay, so let's see. I'm just gonna go through my screen. Rabbi Karp, what time would be good for you on the 29th?
The 29th is clear for me during the day.
Okay. During the day. So Rabbi Karp, anytime. What about Janelle?
Anytime.
Okay. What about Ethelyn?
Anytime on the 29th.
Anytime. What about Mike?
Anytime.
Janelle, you might need to recuse yourself because this is a case involving Dick Davidson.
Why?
Because she was working with him.
Who?
Dick Davidson.
I mean, who needs to recuse themselves?
Janelle.
Working with him on this case?
No, he was on the board of her previous employer, and then she was working with him on the case involving the commission.
But not this case.
What do you mean on this case?
But
Was Janelle working with him on this case?
No.
How would she work with him on this case?
Okay, well, that's the question that Ruby is asking. And,
okay.
Janelle's retired. So he's not on any board that supervises her. But she only supervises her husband and her father and of course herself.
All right. And Mike says he is available at any time. What about Richard?
I'm open.
You're open. All right. I am open after 11, so. Oh, Jeff. Is Jeff still here? I don't see him. I don't see Jeff.
Jeff is here.
He is. Jeff? Able to speak?
I think he dropped out of the meeting.
I don't see him.
He's not on the list anymore.
Down Wolf Rich Hendricks, that's him. So
Oh, Richard.
Oh,
I don't think he can speak or whatever, but he's there.
hi, Jeff. What's your schedule looking like on the 29th of April? You're muted. Anytime? Oh, because I remember Latrice muting him. I can't hear you.
He's not muted.
No. I could not. Can anybody hear him? Because I can't.
No, I
No.
can't.
Okay.
Jeff, can you put in the chat
Yeah.
your availability on?
I'm messaging him, telling him how to maybe get access to the microphone.
So 29th. Or just put it on the chat. Because everybody's good. I'm good after 11.
So should we be thinking about it at 12?
How about after lunch at
Uh,
1?
that gets tight for me. Because I have a 2.
So noon on the 29th?
Yes, Jeff? Yay, nay, yay. Yes, noon. He said noon. is good. All right,
I move that we meet at noon on the 29th.
noon on the 29th. Let me put it in my calendar. All right, it's there. So the hearing will be scheduled, April 29th at noon,
Virtually.
virtually. So we should be receiving a Zoom link for that. Okay?
Okay.
Anything else on those two cases? No? Okay, so we can move on to old business. The letter to the city council. I guess I was just waiting on the, addition regarding contrasting, our staffing and budget, comparing that to like cities.
I sent that to you in September of 2020 and on March 9th, 2021.
March 9th, I did not see that.
I sent it during the last meeting and you acknowledged receiving it during the meeting.
You added to the letter? Because I remember, I
sent you the information.
I'm sorry, what?
I sent you the information.
So while I do appreciate that, I believe it's, since you're more closer to the information, you know the information, I was hoping you could add that little bit of information into the letter, because that's the only thing we're waiting on.
You have the information, so you would just need to copy and paste it into the letter, but the letter had also incorrect information, and that was sent over, and I never got a response.
The letter was voted on and approved pending just, a couple additions by the commissioners. And so those are the only two things that needs to be added in there. But I
can't send out inaccurate information, though, about the role of the commission, conveying that the commission has a role that would effectively be a due process violation for any parties with cases before it, and that it would violate the terms of the ordinance and our contract. So the information does need to be accurate in a letter that is being sent.
Okay, so I would welcome discussion on that. If we're changing the letter, which we've already approved.
Can we bring the letter up so we can see it? See what's wrong with it?
I don't have the letter here in front of me, but I sent out the information, I think, on March 10th.
The fifth draft. Here, I'll pull it up. Share. I need to be able to share. I can't share it.
Yeah, my problem is why are we sharing a email or a letter that you guys have had time to prepare and get ready to send, and now you want us to waste time preparing an email to send to the city council and wait. Well, go ahead, guys.
We voted on this letter and we've.
Yeah, but you guys have had email traffic back and forth for the last month or so, and nobody's done anything and hadn't responded and stuff. So, and now here we are at the meeting trying to decipher and determine what we're going to say in a message. And the people that's responsible for writing this message should have already put this here together in a format for us to approve.
But we've already approved the letter. Pending.
I think what was approved was like the purpose of sending the letter, not that specific language.
No.
Because if there were going to be edits made, then there's going to be edits made. So if you are making false claims within the letter, that should be corrected before it goes out.
No, I remember us sharing the letter on the screen, approving it. We decided on adding 2 items. I added the item that I can, and then I submitted that as a draft, and then awaiting another item from you. And so
but you're not awaiting the item from me if I sent it to you before.
Share.
Right. I sent a letter in the messages because I can only allow everyone to share.
Okay, so I
so
can't.
If you could send it to me, then I can share it on the screen.
Rabbi, I sent you the 5th draft.
Yeah, okay, I will, yeah. I have to figure out how to do this. Okay.
Because I can't.
Oh, okay. I have here the 5th draft. Yeah,
I think the issue is like Ruby seems to not want to speak to me, Mike, and so that's odd for whatever reason. So I sent a response explaining what changes needed to be made and why they needed to be made. And I didn't get a reply. And the next thing that I heard back was from Rabbi Karp like 4 days later asking if it had already gone out, because I think he assumed that over those 4 days, it would have been figured out and it would have gone out. And so we communicated back and forth, and I didn't hear back from Ruby until March 16th after I sent the email on March 10th.
I
and
believe
she was saying
that email.
No. Saying that she didn't feel that there needed to be a change to the language. And I guess I'm a little confused on the argument there, because are you saying that you want to send out inaccurate information?
Okay, please don't put words in my mouth. I never said that.
Well, I'm not putting words in your mouth. I asked you a question.
And my answer is, I never said that.
Right. So what is the argument? I'm saying I'm unclear about the argument. Are you saying that we need to update the language because it's not accurate? So
when we discussed this, we didn't hear this from you, right? And so when we were editing the letter, just to put whatever we said we were going to add in there to just be able to sign and send, this never came out until you just added, you send it in.
Until I reviewed it.
I've lost my sound.
No, you're fine.
You're back.
Oh, you can't hear. Are you able to share, Rabbi Karp?
Yeah, I think I am. Let me, I can't share it on the screen. I have to send it, I'll send it to Latrice and she can share it on the screen. Or I'll send it to both of you.
So nobody can get permission to share on the screen?
The only option is to allow everyone to share.
I'm sending it to the two of you so that one of you can share it on the screen. I can't share it on the screen. I haven't got the power to share it on the screen. Tried hitting share. And I don't know what's going on here.
And we can't do that right now? Because you can make somebody a host and be able to share on the screen.
I don't know why I am not able to get, I only see myself now and whoever's speaking, but I can't get to the meeting.
Top right view,
What?
top right, click on view, and you might.
No,
want-
I'm just saying, I'm not getting the Zoom meeting. I'm just getting one window of,
Gotcha.
okay, I am going to,
I'll send it right now to Latrice.
there we go. Okay.
It won't let me.
This is what I believe, this is what we're talking about.
Send. So if you, oh, there you go. So I added the bullet points. We just need the comparison. And yes, we voted on this. I don't know if anybody else remembers.
I remember, we presented the letter to the commission with the blanks that needed to be filled in, and the commission approved that. I agree with you, Ruby, on that, and that we just needed that information to be filled in, and the attachments. We talked about attaching the PowerPoint that Latrice presented to the city council.
Let me ask you guys a question, because you're making a mountain out of a molehill here, and I want to know, what does the average processing time have to do with the budget here? Because each case, you're not going. I know that there are different times, and that you can come up with an average time, but how does that give you an indication in terms of what you're going to need in terms of monetary funds to be appropriated for this commission? I mean, that's.
So if we can say, just an example, a case is, give me a number here, like.
Let's set it minus that, guys, and let's let them ask us that there is no budgetary process that is taking place at this time, and to hold this letter up for that, to me, guys, it's just we're dealing with just a bunch of small stuff here, and this stuff doesn't have to be foolproof. Send it over to the council over there for them to look at it and to get a relook or whatever. So
yeah, I think we should still be able to show that, adding a staff.
But Ruby, you are one person. Come on, guys, please.
Well, I'm open to conversation, but this is,
we're making this harder than what it's worth. We don't have a major corporation here where we've got to try to figure out every every step and every piece, every token, where it's at and where it's going. We just need to journalize and stuff. And if they got a question, let them come back, and we got enough time to deal with them. So let's get it out of here and stuff. We've horsed around with this thing for the last, it's killing me, guys. I mean, it don't take this long to do this kind of stuff. So,
Well, given the situation that, we haven't gotten anything, would it be nice
to clarify, you do have all of this information because I gave it to you
I do.
last month and I gave it to you again prior to that back in September.
So
The
are
issue
you
is that the letter
have that here?
specifically states that the commissioners act in an advocacy role, which you don't. The commission, if it were to act in an advocacy role, then it would not be fair. It would not be a neutral decision maker.
Okay, so
That's not accurate. That's false, and that violates the terms of that doesn't comply with the Constitution. It doesn't comply with our ordinance. It doesn't comply with the Iowa Civil Rights Act. It doesn't comply with our contracts. That's not the role of the commission. And Ruby, I sent you
Rabbi Karp.
all of the
I guess
corrections.
that's you.
Excuse me, Ruby, I'm speaking. Can you please not interrupt me while I'm speaking? That's very rude.
You do the same
I
thing.
sent you this information on March 10th explaining what the corrections needed to be. I sent an explanation of why we needed to make those changes. And I sent you suggested language. You ignored me. And I'm not sure what's going on with that or why you chose to ignore me until now when you want to have the conversation here at the meeting in a way to, as if you're conveying that I failed to do something, but you had the information that you needed.
And I responded to your email again. That
you responded
this letter was
clarifying that
approved.
you would be fine with an estimate, and I said, okay, well, you have that.
I don't have that.
You don't have the comparison between what our commission gets and how many staff we have and how many cases we have and what the other commissions do?
No, I actually asked you to add that to the letter.
But Ruby, there's no reason for me to add it if you have it. You're drafting the letter. The letter needs to be updated, though. So to pretend as though me not resending you information that you have, that seems childish and unprofessional. You have the information.
For the record, there's 3 of us who created this letter.
Yes, and Rabbi Karp was repeatedly saying, do we need to have a meeting to figure out what the disconnect is? And I said the same thing because I wasn't sure where the disconnect was coming from because you have the information. So if you wanted to say, well, ignore Latrice's professional judgment and her explanation of why this is inaccurate and why we shouldn't say this, I'm just going to issue the letter anyway, then you have the information to do that.
First, I never said that, but I appreciate you letting everybody know what you think I'm thinking. So I guess this letter needs to be edited again.
Can you?
That's Rabbi Karp.
Okay, well, Latrice, if I understand you correctly, your problem is with the second paragraph where it says we continue to feel strongly that the need exists to expand our staff, adding adding another investigator with a high level of civil rights complaints that the commission receives, and our lack of adequate staffing. There is an absence of meaningful advocacy for poor defendants, which reverberates widely and impacts neighborhoods and communities without this additional investigator. So you want to eliminate the concept of providing meaningful advocacy for poor defendants. To talk about and to to
I
submit.
don't have the language here in front of me.
The absence of equal justice for in over civil rights disputes for a number of our complaints. Yeah, for all. Would that be, if we eliminated the reference to advocacy, but rather to equal justice?
Perhaps instead of kind of spending more time on, because I have to go, I have a doctor's appointment shortly, and the captioner has to leave too, so we schedule it for 2 hours. Perhaps you and I can meet to correct the language. But I did send an email on March 10th that had what corrections needed to be made and why. And then I gave suggested language. So each correction, I gave a paragraph long explanation of why we should not use that language. And then I gave corrected language. So it was just that things needed to be reworded so that they were correct. I'm not sure what the disconnect is there, but it definitely seems incredibly disrespectful and rude that there cannot be a direct conversation with me as if I'm not a person. Ruby is going to communicate through you, Rabbi Karp. She's not going to communicate directly to me. That's incredibly unprofessional.
Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we're gonna move on from this.
Yeah, well, okay, I will, if I can't find the March 10th letter.
We can touch, I will touch base. I will send you an email and we can meet to go over it, and I'll resend you that language, and then we can meet and get it finished today probably.
Okay. All right. Then I will submit it to the subcommittee, which was appointed by the commission, which is with Ruby and Jeff and if they approve, we'll bring it to the May meeting. And say, hopefully move it forward. Anybody have problems with that?
I mean, if we've already agreed to send the letter, I don't think fixing the language, the sentiment is still the same. It's just fixing the language. It seems like once it's approved by the committee, it can be sent out to council.
Well, if the commission would empower us to do that, that would be fine. But I don't want people in the commission feeling that they're being sidelined.
So are you asking to be empowered to do?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, I'm asking that the subcommittee be empowered that Latrice and I meet to work on the language, and then the subcommittee meets to review the amendments or the revisions, and if the subcommittee is in agreement that the letter go out without needing to get reapproved by the commission, that we be empowered to submit the letter. I guess that's what I'm asking.
I so move.
My question is, don't the commission want to see the final product before it goes out?
Well, then
send us a copy, guys. Get it done. We've already wasted enough time on this today. Get it done. Let's move on, please. We've spent enough time on this here. It doesn't take all of this, guys. I'm just totally disgusted with where we're at with this, the progress we've made on it, the lack of the progress that we've made on it. Go ahead and do what you guys need to do and get it done, and just send us a copy of it. That's all needs to be done.
And I'm let me say that I'm bothered by the fact that our chairperson and our director are having this disagreement during this meeting.
A little respect. All right.
I'm sorry, Ruby, what was
We're
that
gonna
you
do
just said?
that.
Respect goes both ways, guys, and so we're gonna
Right.
move on for right now, and we just need to do that for right now. But respect goes both ways, so let's remember that,
Right.
and let's move forward, guys.
All right, so the policing reforms, I believe, I don't know how long ago we've sent this to the city council. Not sure what the status is right now. I know it's under court, but what do we want to do with it?
Well, when last month when we discussed these things, I mean, we have submitted to them the final versions with the final revisions. I think we did that in November. So, you know, we discussed not hitting them with two things at once, policing reforms and budget. But I think now we're kind of faced where we have to hit them with two things at once, especially considering the fact that, you know, all you need to do is turn on the news. That, you know, this is not an issue that's going away, nor is it an issue, as was reported in the Quad City Times, that it's all been taken care of, as it was stated by one of the members of the City Council in the Quad City Times article on March 9th. So then I guess I want to advance once again the idea, and then we had discussion about this last time. But I think we need, you know, we either need to say yes or no, or you know, and if no, then come up with another strategy. I want to suggest that we request of the mayor that 3 members of the commission meet with 3 members of the city council as a working committee to try and work out a way that these reforms can make their way onto the floor of the city council with proposed legislation. And see where that goes. I mean, at the last meeting, one of the members of this commission said that you know, it's obvious that the silence is writing on the wall, that they're not interested in doing anything. Well, I think we need to give them yet another opportunity to work cooperatively with us on moving these things forward.
So do we have to write a letter for that?
You know, maybe we need to write a letter to the mayor. You know, just to, yeah, you know, if that's the strategy that we as a commission wish to move forward with, having a joint working committee of 3 representatives from each side to take a hard look at the recommendations and to see how we can turn them into positive affirmative actions in our community. Be quite frank with you, I'm really concerned. I'm really concerned. I mean, you know, when we look at the case in Minneapolis, the Derek Chauvin case in Minneapolis, it seems like there's no way that he can be acquitted, except there is, because he's white and he's a cop, and these things are never, they're never, they're always up in the air. They're always up in the air, and I think that if that said eventuality comes to pass, that said not eventuality, but option comes to pass, the whole country's going to be on fire, and justifiably so, and including this community, particularly because we haven't been able to affect change or significant change. And it's not, and we need to give the city council one more chance to take this seriously. Otherwise, people are going, and as we see with what happened in Brooklyn Center, in Minnesota, what we see what happened in Windsor, Virginia, I mean, this is not an issue that is going away. And it's and so far, changes have not really changed what's happening on the street.
So Rabbi Kopp, what is your recommendation, sir?
My recommendation is that we ask the mayor to put together a working committee of 3 members of the council to sit down with 3 members of this commission who we choose to go over these our recommendations and find and work our way to and work them through so that we can get at least some policing reform recommendations before the city council to act upon. Mike, what do you think?
So we need a motion. If you want a motion, I'll make a motion.
Yes, would you please?
I so move that we ask the mayor to put together a working group consisting of 3 members of the Civil Rights Commission and 3 members of the city council, along with the police chief, to work on police reform recommendations with the Civil Rights Commission.
I second the motion.
So my question is, how do we request that?
Like when you write a letter over requesting more money, we send a letter.
All right.
Send a letter to the mayor. Yeah.
Do we want to just include that, Rabbi Karp, when you and I and Jeff meet again?
We got a motion, guys. We got a motion on the floor. Do we have questions going on, or are we entertaining questions, or what's going on?
I just want to make sure we know who's writing the letter.
Well, yeah, I think that,
Rabbi Karp and I'll write that one while we're writing.
Yeah.
The other one. We'll do 2 for 1.
okay. Yeah.
And I would hope that this, the product, hopefully, of this joint working committee would be, drafting ordinances that would, enact some or all of our proposals. Let's get right down to the nitty gritty and put this in a form where it really is some action here. We can massage this thing to death. And if we allow that to happen, that's what's going to happen. But I think it really needs to be, in ordinance form, hopefully.
Okay. So we have a motion. Did somebody
We have a
that
second.
already?
Ethelene seconded.
Everybody in favor of that proposal, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Okay, so motion carries. It says administrative rules next on the agenda.
Yeah. Latrice, you got a 2 o'clock doctor's appointment, right?
It's not at 2. I have to leave at 2.
Okay, because we only have 9 minutes before Latrice leaves. And I would suggest that we table the administrative rules to the next meeting, because I think this is a long discussion.
I agree.
We need to be present for it.
Okay, so administrative rules to be tabled. Any comments from the public?
You didn't take that, I think he made the motion. I second it. You didn't carry the motion to be approved by the entire commission, though. So.
Of moving that to, of tabling it?
Yeah, in favor.
Okay, so, everybody in favor of tabling that, administrative rules to the next meeting?
Say aye.
Aye.
Okay, anybody opposed? Okay, so motion carries. That will be, tabled. And then we move on to the public comment section.
I think I let something, you know, when we're on item 4 of the director's report, of director met with commissioners Mateo, Carp, and Guster. Now, what I don't see is when we met, when I met with the director during that time, it was at the previous month.
No, I just have it as I met with the rules committee. So you all were the committee that was working on the rules. So it's number 6.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
I think we have 2 hands up,
Sorry.
for public comment.
I'm screen sharing from sharing the letter, and I've lost the participant. Oh, there we go. Okay. Dan, it looks like you are unmuted.
Yes, Dan Audie. I don't know if there's reforms that you have worked on already. I saw at some point over the weekend, there was a suggestion that if the city, well, I guess if the police would be responsible for misconduct personally, rather than dumping it on the city, that might be a deterrent for them to remain calm and not take a simple traffic incident into a death. I don't know, you know, where you guys are with recommendations. I'm just gonna put that in here now as an idea. And thanks for hearing me.
Thank you. Is there one more? I don't have the power to unmute.
Athena's hand is up.
Hi, sorry about that. Athena Gilbrace, I live in Davenport. I just wanted to say, as a member of the general public, I really need the Civil Rights Commission to do a lot better. You know, Rabbi Karp, you mentioned everything that's happening in Minnesota right now. I happen to be out of town and have witnessed some things happening in our bigger cities within this country, and some of the minimal stuff that's going on during these meetings is not only inappropriate, but it's ineffective. And so as a woman of color, as a mother who has kids who are Black within this city, I really just need you guys to step up and please do the things that we as a public need you to do. That's all I have to say about that. But I wanted to also make a mention of what you were talking about earlier as far as opening your office. I recently just got over 3.5 weeks worth of COVID. And I just want to remind you all that masks are not 100% effective. I've been wearing a mask this entire time, this last 1.5 years, and I was still able to contract it while wearing a mask, along with my 2 children and the 9 other clients who I deal with on a day-to-day basis. It was really severe. I also have a lung disease. I was in Iowa City for a few days, and it was really bad. I ended up getting the antibody transfusion, luckily. But not everybody has access to the same quality of healthcare as I do, and I recognize that. So please don't be in a rush to open your office to the public. It's not worth it. Just wait a little bit longer if you can. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I would like to say, I think that there needs to be a discussion about the way that Ruby is interacting with me. I think it's incredibly inappropriate. And I would like to publicly say, I think that there needs to be a discussion about that, because I should not have to defend myself every time we attend a meeting against accusations. And I should not be being ignored by the chair of the commission when I send correspondence. It's incredibly inappropriate. And for her to state that I'm being disrespectful towards her is also incredibly confusing.
So are you
I
asking
think you're
that that be,
disrespectful to me too?
are you asking that that be an agenda item?
Yeah, I think that there needs to be a discussion about that, about the behavior of commissioners, because that is completely inappropriate. That's considered things to create a hostile working environment, giving people the silent treatment, and then categorizing interactions as disrespectful when they are coming from a Black woman is definitely has racial connotations, and it's incredibly inappropriate.
So where do we put that
Right.
on? Where do we
That's-
put that?
So that's vice versa, and I'm Brown.
We're not talking about it. I'm asking a question about where we put it at to deal with it.
I think we can.
I'm sorry.
I think we can add it to the agenda as an item of commissioner interactions. I think that there needs to be a discussion about that.
I so move that we add it to the agenda item as indicated.
Okay, I'm going to second that.
Is there a second?
Ruby seconded it.
Okay.
I didn't. I was asking who wants to second it.
Oh, I thought you said you seconded
Sorry.
it.
I'll second it.
Okay, so everybody in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
1, 2, who? Sorry, I didn't hear and I didn't see. So Ethelyn, Janelle, Carp, everybody else, Mike, okay? So the motion carries. That will be part of the agenda for next meeting. Anything else? Where are we at? It's almost 2.
Let me just say one other thing here. I don't think we have to make a motion to put anything on the agenda anyway. All we have to do is just ask. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So that's just for future reference for Ethelene. All you have to do is ask that an item be put on the agenda, and it shall be done.
Thank you.
Okay. So it's 2, actually, and then the next meeting would be May 11th. Am I right? Yeah. May 11th. Same time.
Yeah.
Okay. So meeting is adjourned at 2 o'clock.
And I think the next meeting is April 29th. Yeah.
Yeah, then we'll agree.
Special meeting.
We have a special meeting on April 29th.
Special meeting, okay. So special meeting is April 29th at noon, and then the regular meeting would be May 11th. Okay. The meeting adjourned. Have a nice rest of the day, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Goodbye.